And all the students who've been reaching out to me that have been not able to attend as frequently as they would have liked, get in touch with me, have your ideas, and I'll help you through them. I said at the beginning of the semester, it's going to be tough because a lot of you have your senior show coming up and your other assignments, and motion takes time, especially when you're new to it. So, try and reach out to me, try and set aside some time, and I'll try and teach you what you need to get your best work possible. Okay, so I'm going to start off tonight with Joy's. I've not seen this yet, so it's new to me. Now, Joy, when I got your file, your inks were... Good evening, Tyreek. I'll be tackling yours in a second after I review Joy's. Okay, so Joy, your inks were not... The links were broken, but you did have the artwork. So I just had to repoint that artwork by finding it here, right-clicking, and I chose replace. And then I went to where they were here, and it tells you the name right there, ink 1. I found your exact match, and then I hit import, and once I did that, it found all the other missing artwork in your... Good evening, Victor. I'll be tackling yours third. Good evening, Alexis. I don't even think you had an update. Wait, let me take a look. No, I didn't see anything new, but if you got anything new, put it up there. But yours is looking spectacular. I am over the moon with how good your project is. So I'm going to be tackling Joy's first, and I was just showing how to reload artwork because this was missing from there. Now this is using video clips of ink drops as, I'm assuming, alpha mats, either alpha or luma, based upon how much tonal range is in there. And I'm not seeing anything here below. And clicking these buttons will show or hide more options. There's the track mats. So we'll see how this is working. But I'm going to drop down the resolution because I have a feeling this is going to be quite the bear on my processor, and I've got a pretty fast computer. Alright, so let's hit the spacebar without further ado. And here's what I love to see. Final comp, everything in there. And here's the various scenes. So great job labeling this. It makes me very happy to see when people listen, even to the little things like naming things. It'll really help you in the field. And let's take a look. This is new to me, as I've said before. Now, a little bit of contrast issues here. That's, it's good colors, but it's sitting in there and it was a little hard to read, so a little bit more contrast or different tone will help with that. It's very beautiful and organic looking. And I don't know if these are particles or whatnot, or just leftover stuff in the ink thing, but that's a smart choice. Again, that's a little tough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this at normal speed, like I'm going to let it render at low res. And then I'll go to what are called hero shots, where basically, it's all the important information, like that last scene, where I was like, I don't know if there's enough contrast there. I'll go to those beats in the animation, and then I'll look at that frame at full res. Because right now we're looking at the motion, and the motion's going to render a lot faster at quarter speed, because this is pretty complex. So I can't judge this tonally, and if there's enough contrast, looking at it at a lower resolution. So first we're going to look at the motion, then I'll go to those hero shots where the text is, and we'll look at those frames at full res, because we know how it's going to be moving. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. It's just ways of trying to pick up efficiencies. And this looks like it's a lot longer than it needs to be, which is fine. Based upon... Okay, so I look at a lot of people's work being an assistant director in a video studio. And the things I can tell you once you're done and you're looking for jobs in the field, don't have long pieces for studios to reveal. Good evening there, Liam. I'll be tackling you in a little bit. I'm just giving some life advice from a boring old man. And so it's like this animation, like if this is, let's just pretend it looks like it's a minute and 10 seconds. We'll pretend it's a minute and 10 seconds. I would maybe have 2 of these scene reveals. Like let's pretend, like I'd like show the ones that have the most interest, and possibly if they're showing new things, like these characters coming in, you know, hey, that's cool. So like a few seconds of that and a few seconds of another scene, like basically hanging on something for like maybe 4 or 5 seconds and then moving on to the next thing. Because when studios have hundreds of people's motion reels and video reels to go through, something clean, concise, and fast moving will help you out more. Sorry about that. That's my phone. It's going off the hook because I'm a popular fellow. Let me mute that. If you've got a good first assignment and a good second assignment, you know, just show the highlights of those. 30 great seconds in your reel is better than 2 minutes of boring. Trust me, you'll do much better showing all killer, no filler. And you don't want anything in your reel that you're apologizing for, or, you know, what I really meant to do, or this or that. If you don't like it, don't have it in there. Keep it moving. Pacing and rhythm is everything. Let's see what it looks like so far, just for the fun of it. It's very dynamic, it's very colorful. I like these little particles. If you have anything, upload it, or if you've just got a list of ideas in your head, send me that and I'll help you dissect them and come up with fast ways of executing them. So right now I'm just seeing how long it's going to take me to render this in the background, because hopefully I might be able to render it and then open up something else. Let's find out. So 1 second. It's a mixed bag of tricks. Sometimes you can just RAM preview it. Other times it might actually even be faster to just render it out. And to get here, I just went composition, add to Adobe Media Encoder, and if your encoder's not working, you can go. Also make sure you're on the composition you want. This is the main animation with all the pre-comps inside it. You can go composition, add render queue if your media encoder's not working. Alright, so here we are. H.264, yeah, we'll do high bitrate, why not? Because compressing it will just slow it down. Let's save. And let's see what this tells me real fast. Hello there, Mark. That's a good one. Day late for Star Wars, but right on time for Cinco de Mayo. So I'm just going to quickly see how long this is going to take to render out. Okay, so you can see it's quickly going down. It went from an hour down to 45 minutes, dropped down to 39. So that could be because this was the part I pre-cached, but not likely because that was quarter res. So it's down to about 28 minutes. So I'm going to see what happens if I open up another project in the background while this is rendering. I normally don't re-render the bit. That's a good one. Okay, you know what? If you're in a Star Wars mood, I'm a fan of the first 2 movies. So I'll tell you, normally when I'm teaching live, I've got dad jokes chambered up to make the night go by faster, because it used to be a 5-hour class once a week, but now it's 2.5 2-night weeks. So it's 2.5 hours for 2 nights. So since it's a Star Wars themed evening, how come you can't get vodka in a Jedi bar? Because only the Sith feel an absolute. Yes, thunderous rounds of laughter for that joke, by 23 minutes. So now I'm going to see what happens if I can open up another project on top of this. Thank you very much, and I like the studio audience laughter, that's a good one. I wasn't planning on telling jokes tonight, but you know, it never hurts to have a joke chambered. And actually, that's a very good word of advice for when you're on a job interview. I actually, like I said, I used to tell at least 6 or 7 dad jokes each class for 16 weeks. So my students heard at least 100 of them. And one of my students was asked on a job interview, tell us a joke. and she remembered one of the ones. Thank you very much, Tyreek. She remembered one of the ones I told in class, told it, and she got the job, and she was like, thank you. I normally don't have any jokes memorized, but just being able to think of something off the top of your head like that can help you in an interview situation. Okay, so this is what I like what you're doing, Tyreek. So I'm going to be tackling Mark soon, but you've got this. Here's what I need to do, so I know what you're working on. And I saw this about the morph, and we're going to talk about that. So, that's fitting music. That's pretty great. Alright. So I'll go back to the beginning, and I'll drop down to half res, and we'll check out this for pacing. Let me see something real quick. Okay, so it does light up. Okay, and just watch how long those bolts are up there, because they should only be up for like a couple frames maximum, like 2, because that would be really fast. Like lightning flashes like 1 or 2 frames. That's looking very good. And again, you'll be working on the face there. Great, you're not hanging on that too long. Everything's just keeping moving, like I was talking about. Even though we're 10 seconds in, we already saw puppet rigging, transitions, lots of stuff, lots of different animation techniques have already been going on here, so that's wondrous to see. And just watch the timing there, we'll see that in normal speed. I'm glad you put the turbulent displace there, great character rigging. And obviously you'll put real stuff in there. Oh, there's some fancy sword work. Now, when you're doing stuff, make sure it's up long enough for people to be able to read it, okay? That's a good glow. Alright, so now we can watch it in real time. And this is at a reduced resolution, just so we can preview it faster. It's a nice flow to it. What might look nice in the background at a later date, like to give this some sizzle, is those like anime action lines, maybe textured or distressed. That might look pretty cool. A good way of pushing this a little bit. Now see if that, yeah, watch that right there. Just speed up those keyframes. Maybe, like I said, later on down the road, adding the action lines. Now, this is looking good. Is that supposed to be a squared off sword? And if so, that's weird. But hey, to each their own. And you might want to add a little bit of turbulence to the hair layers. You just copy that same effect. Is that the person's arm and they're just got their sleeve like that? Okay, so here's the $100 question. You're saying you want to morph the controller to the sword, into a sword. So, we're going to talk about that. Your controller is basically a pill shape. Okay, so you can morph between shapes, and I've got a longer video on it as part of the lectures that you've all got the links to. So let's see what we got here. Here's all your shape layers right here. So what you can do is your joystick here, the shape of the body of the joystick will be what's thinking action lines. Or, yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. We're on the same page. The shape of this controller, the outside shape, will be what morphs into the sword. Now, you've also got these extra details on there. Maybe these turn into like jewels at the hilt of the sword. That's for you. It's how far do you want to push it or whatever. So if they're not going to be used for something, you can shrink them down in scale, or just basically scale them down in a way. But these can all be used for clever things, like these can maybe turn towards the hilt and these buttons turn into like claws sticking off the sides of the hilt. That's all up to you. But we're going to go over the basics of this. Alright, so I'm making a new composition. I don't know what you're working at, but I'm assuming... let's find out. So we're here. Alright, so we're here. So to find out what you're working at, I just go composition settings. Okay, you are 29,970. Alright, so it worked out for the best. I'm going to copy all these layers. And I'm going to paste it in here. Let me check on our render. Okay, it's still rendering. It's going to take a little while, but we can do this in the background, and then we can, you know, all make fun of Joy when it's done rendering, just because, you know, it's what the cool kids do. Just joking. Alright, so here's our morph. And let's start here. Alright, there's a gray background. Let me change that to black. Now remember, if you colorize your background, it's not going to render out the way you think it's going to render out. It's going to be empty alpha. So if this was a gray stage, it'll come out black because it's treating it as alpha. So, you know, good rule of thumb is adding a solid layer as your background. I'll just call it BG for background. And then I won't have to worry about that. Okay, so here is our controller, and I'm going to solo it. So we're only looking at one thing. And to solo it, it's that little circle. So however many layers you want to solo, you just click that on for what you want to see. Because it's easier to just deal with one thing. So here's your glow. There we go. Alright, that's the end of the effect. So I'm gonna go layer, new, shape. And when I'm teaching this live, I probably even said it in my recorded lecture. Let me call this morph. So we know it's what. Always think of a shape layer as an empty salad bowl, and you're going up to the salad bar. You could put whatever you want in it. If you don't want any lettuce, you could grab some chopped up ham and some cubes of cheese and some imitation crab meat. That's fine, and you can call that a salad. It used to drive my wife nuts when I would do that. I'd call it a no salad salad, but I'm like, hey, I got it from the salad bar, it's a salad. So I created a shape layer and has nothing in it. It's just referencing, saying this is an empty shape. So what I'm going to do next, with your shape layer selected and, you know, your tool, if you want, you click add. You can click add here, or you can click add there, but I'm going to go add, and I'm going to add a path because we're going to morph the path. So now I've got a path here. Now this all depends on how fancy you want to get, because he's got this glowing, and we could be really slick, and as the glow is starting to happen, have the morph start to happen as well. So let's try that. Let's be fancy. So I'm going to add a keyframe there. So it's just an empty keyframe with nothing in it. Let's try... Oh, I see what you did here. You used a shape. Okie dokie. So let's go back to here. Before the glow happens. Now, if you drew this, we wouldn't have to do this step. So I'm blaming you. I'm just kidding. That's all I'll do right here. I'm going to go line, line, and then if I hold down, I'm going to go right here. I'll make my path there, and I'll click here, make another one. There, there. I'll just rough this out as fast as I can. The more path points I have, it's actually going to help me out with my morph. Like, you don't want to have too many because it's, you know, stuff you got to keep track of. Now let's fix this up a little bit. Nobody likes to watch me draw, so that's why I try and do it as fast as possible. Because everybody already knows how to use the pen tool, more or less. You're here to learn about motion. Now don't forget, if you only want to move one Bezier curve handle, pull down Alt or Option as you drag. And I'm only affecting the one. Okay, that's pretty decent. So here's our rough shape over top. Let me delete this because it's an extra keyframe. Okay, so we'll go forward however long we want. Let's just say it's a 1 second morph. So you don't want it to be too slow. That'll bore the audience. So I'm just going to add a second to my timecode. Add another frame here. And we can turn this into a sword. So let's do that. We'll go here and we'll have this be, so I'm selecting this one path point and I right clicked and I went mask and shape path and then set first vertex right there. Now I'm going to go here, same thing. I'm going to select just that one point. I was holding down shift to deselect and then, the same thing. So I right click, set first vertex. So between these two shapes, it's going to say this is where it's going to begin. So it's not going to be moving all over creation. And you can make it look like any type of sword you want. That's up to you as the designer. Let's say this can start being the hilt. That. And then you could also do the Bezier curve handles. Such. Okay, so we got that going on. Now, let's try and grab some effects. So you got your glow. I'm going to hit the E key. There's your glow. And let me hit U. I'm going to copy this. Command C. Paste that there. Command V, and nothing's happening because we don't have a fill. So if I go add fill, make it whatever color we want, there's your remote going into that. So what we can do is, if this is where the morph's going to happen, I'm going to just hold down Alt and hit that second bracket to trim the end of that. So now I can just grab my color from the first one. But you can change color if you want. It's a free world. Alright, here we go. We got that. And then, obviously, if this layer ends here, I'm going to start this one there, so that there's no overlap. And there's your morph. Setting that first vertex is crucial so that the shape's not flying all over the place. See how it's growing out the way we want it to? Obviously you'll have a more polished sword. I'm just showing you the technique. So I'm going to unsolo these, and you can think about all these other things and you do the same exact thing. Like if these are made with shapes, you got to redraw them with the pen tool and just make sure they line up perfectly over top of it. And you just have, like these go somewhere else. those can become like end pieces on the hilt. If I wanted to do that, let's do that just for the fun of it. Okay, so that's there. I'm going to hit P for position. I'm going to go down to where the morph starts, which is right about here. It's right here. So I'm going to click there. And I'm going to have this one go to the far one and that one go over there. So this is about where the shape resolves itself. And you can pick whatever motion path you want to use. See, look, I can drag that out and it'll follow that path. So it's going from here to there over time, and you can adjust the path to make it go the way you want. Like such. Now we worry about the other one. Why is there two of them? I guess you had more than one, but you get the idea. So we'll focus on this one next. I could copy those keyframes so they both move. You get the idea. Oops, that's not what we want to do. We want to move this. Why is this not moving? There we go. And again, here's the handle to change the motion path, like such. So we're just thinking about where your shapes are and how you want them to move, with the morph if you want. Oh, thank you very much. All I did was I just copied your glow onto this shape. So, you know, bada bing, bada boom, you know. And these extra ones right here, I don't know why there's extra shapes, but what we can do is I'll select both of them, use my previous keyframe to line it up, and I'll just end those layers right there. Like such. So it's all about layer management and your paths. Now, do you have any questions about that shape path? I just created a new shape layer by going layer, new, shape layer. And then once we had that, there it is there, the new one. I just want add path. And then I copied, if you drew this with paths, you just copy that path in there, the keyframe, and then the next one. But yeah, you're just morphing between two shape paths over time. You just click there and draw your shape, move forward, draw your shape. And again, don't forget to make sure that the first vertex is set. So let's go U for my keyframes. There's my path. Remember, to get the first vertex, I just selected the one point, right-clicked, mask and shape path, set first vertex. I knew this would be a good point for the handle, so I just chose that for both shapes. I could have chosen up here and said, here's where the sword's going to grow out of. It's all up to you, but setting that first vertex is what's going to keep this from flying all over the screen and looking like a deliberate morph shape, like such. So, is it possible to add more points with the pen tool and alter the shape further? I'm not allowed to tell you the answer to that, so good luck with that. No, if you do add path points later on, I don't think they'll be at the beginning of it. So let's test that out. Here's our path points. Let me try something. So when I clicked on this color square and I changed the color of it, it also changed the color of my path. So we can see it a little bit more easily, okay? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 path points, okay? I'm going to go forward a little bit in time, and I'm going to make a serrated edge here. And we'll see if it keeps these extra path points or if they're only added down here. So I'm going to add a keyframe by pressing my diamond, go to my pen tool, I'm going to go to add, go add, add, and then I can do there, another add, and I can put that in there, add, and push that in there. Now let's tighten that up with my arrow tool, because I want it to look sharp and serrated. Oh, another thing I can do, here's the fast way of doing it. I'll convert vertex. Bang, now it's straight. Bang, now that's straight. Okay, we'll pretend that's how I want it. Look what it did. It added them to the beginning. So they're still there, it's still morphing. And then the extra detail gets animated in over time. So it's pretty impressive that it kept all that extra detail and didn't mess up the shape. And then it only changed them where I said to. So does that answer your question, Tyreek? It's coming along nicely. You could even have... I'll send you this for reference. You could mess around with like animated textures to go behind your characters in here. Like, just, you know, dynamic lines and whatnot, whatever you feel fit. Like, if you can find quick, easy ways of doing that, you could just plunk it in this main comp behind the scenes. So, yeah, no problem at all. It's coming along very nicely. So I'm going to close this. Or do you want me to just copy and paste the text into a texting like I've got here? We're going off of people's questions. Whichever you're comfortable with, Andre, is fine with me. Now, let's see. There's Mark is here too. Okay, so I'm going to try and tackle Mark's question next. And then let me scroll through the chat. One moment. And then I'll look at Victor's. And, you know, if Andre is okay with me just copying the text into simple text, I'll do that. Alright, so Mark was saying garage door opening. Okay, so garage door opening. Let's try something with that. So, you know, obviously, I'm just going to give you this. I'm going to work at 24 frames per second. I don't know what you're working on, but you can always just go composition settings, and change it whenever you need to. So, let's pretend I'll send my progress in about 20 minutes. No problem. And, you know, I'll just read your email on my phone. Take a look at your shot description. I was wondering about the garage door opening up, and then I was going to make the last slide the character standing for a photo. Let's pretend that the garage door is opening and they're inside the garage and you see the great outdoors. Okay, so first thing I'm going to say is, well, garage door. I would put the anchor point at the top. So I grab my pan behind tool, hold down Control or Command to snap it there. Now, I'm going to 3D enable this because it's going to be moving in 3D space. So I'm going to hit, let's scale this down a little bit. Right, so I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate this, and I'm going to change the color for each section so you can see what's happening. Oops, I want to move it on the y-axis. Okay, so if this is parented to here, as that goes up, this will go with it. It's kind of like working on an arm. And then I'll duplicate this one more time. change the color of it. Oh, hold up a second. So as I'm thinking this through, if I want these to rotate, I'm going to move my anchor point. Yeah, it looks like it's at the bottom already. Okay. So I'm going to take my middle door and parent it to the top door. Let's see. Oh, that's 3D. Okay. And that's got to be 3D as well. Yeah, my anchor point needs to move. I'm going to put it at the bottom. I'll keep that there because we'll find out what happens. Okay, so let's check out our rotations. Okay, there's the door up, the top. So I'm going to work backwards. I'll go, let's say it takes 1 second, and I'll set that back to 0. Now let's work our way through this. Let's figure this out. And that was the X. Okay. Kind of like that, where you're going to want to have 3 planes rotating. So let's undo those. I hope that answers your question. They'll be rotating on the X. So and they'll be rotating and moving too. Then we hold down Shift P for position. So it starts there down, and we can move it in Z space and rotate it up. I'm just experimenting here. Oh, I see what I did. 1 second. I didn't click stopwatch. So as it moves up in time, we go there. Rotate up that way. Okay, so it's starting to move. And as that's starting to move, I can then control the lower parts. Okay, that should be at the top middle. Okay, I was right the first time. Because that's where it's going to rotate from. No, this should be at the top middle. Okay, good. So I could have the X start rotating earlier. So it's just figuring out your timing for each one. Like such. And just fiddling around with it. But you can make a move up and animate independently in the way that you want it to. So that's that for the garage door. Here's one thing you have to watch out for. If you've got characters in a 3D space, things are a little messy. Let's see what happens here. Okay, we'll pretend this is your group of people. This better be a real PNG because I'm so tired of downloading fake PNGs. We'll pretend this is the sky, okay? And I'm going to scale this up very large. And I'll put a camera in the scene. And then I'll make a ground. I'll make this brown for the earth, and I'll make it green. Okay, fine. Okay, so very quick and easy. There's our sky and there's our earth. They're both 3D. I do not like this new gizmo. It is really annoying. Okay, so there's the Earth. So this is straight to the camera, and that's rotated. And then we'll put our people in the scene. And of course it was not a real. We'll make it 3D. We got position them, set there. There we go. Okay, there's our 3D people. Let's see what happens with our camera pan. Okay, ready? Let me zoom in a little bit. We'll do they changed the camera tools too. Fun. Okay. So if you make it a 3D layer and the camera pans down, they will move with the camera. Okay? Like such. That's the first step. Zoom in a bit. So hitting the C key still works with the old school camera tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click every stopwatch because I don't know what's going to happen. And then I'll grab my rotate. I'll rotate it down. The way to be going. You see what's going to happen is they're not three-dimensional, they're only fake 3D. So if I do that and then see how you're not really getting the angle you want because they're not full 3D characters. Let me see something real quick. This might help. We're going to see what happens with the sky in the background. That helps anchor the scene because this flat color isn't really letting you know the camera's moving. And obviously if you had a 3D scene like, you know, clouds on their own layers, that would really help with the camera movement as well. The more layers the better. General rule of thumb. Make that 3D. Let's hide the clouds. I mean the whatchamacallit. See, now we can get a more of a sense of motion. That's helping it a little bit, but we're still not seeing the other angle you want because you want it to pan down from the other direction. And if you do a swing around with the camera, you'll see that these are flat. So you sort of like painted yourself into a corner with this idea. At least you get a little bit of dimensionality there. maybe you could have your thing animate in like grungy, like that, covering up the shot. But I cannot think of a way of going the other direction, because if you orbit over them, you're going to see it's a flat plane. Let me see. So let's try. Let me grab those keyframes. Let me get rid of them. Try one more time. Let's try and go out and down. So we'll zoom out a little bit, and then we'll go this way, and then we'll, come on, move up that way. But you see how they're still and then we'll push that back a bit. Come on. Alright, won't let me move anymore. So that's a little bit better. And you could have your next scene there come in and push back some more. Let me go forward a little bit. Yeah, so that'll help push it back a little bit more. Let's get rid of those. So that's sort of your question for that, for reference. And you could start having the thing come in there, but it's gonna need to be a 3D plane. So I hope that helps you out a little bit there, Mark. That's a little bit more complex. Like I said, when you've got a fake 2D layer and you try to get that 3D camera motion, you gotta strategize it. Because the first way I went, I was like, oh, well, I'm going about the wrong way. I need to fly over them, you know, so it's just trial and error. Again, there's lots of tutorials on spray paint effects. Those are really pretty easy, cut and dry. 50 more minutes for that render. And see here, you can see it's a bit higher quality, so we can see a little bit more legibility there. Okay, so that was a little bit more tricky. Like if you're working in true 3D, then you know you've got a 3D rendered person, they've got depth, and you can see them in the round from all 360-degree angles, and then you could get that effect more polished. But you know, with just flat 2D, where it's, you know, like layers of paper, you're going to be a little bit more inhibited. Great labeling your layers. This is going to look really slick when it's all done. Great job with that. Oh, motion blur, smart idea. Oh, that looks pretty wild. You got rid of the person, but it helps out the scene. Okay, let's see what happens if I try and watch this at quarter res. But first, let's do a couple hero shots. So there it is in glorious full res. That looks really nice. Layered. Here we go. Fun stuff. I'm afraid of what's going to happen if I purge my disk cache. Ooh, got some motion blur there too. That's really sharp. I'm afraid that might mess up this render. Oh, and it failed. Oh well. Good luck rendering that. Let's see what happens. Did that save anything anywhere? This is gonna look really good when it's, you know, that's great. I like what you did there. Came along very nicely. Oh, the hair, that's really good. That was a smart choice. Beautiful. Did you use a jaws or a block dissolve on those to get them to really good job on that. To get this right there. That looks like a one of the transitions. Probably block dissolve. Is that a block dissolve? If so, that's a really great solution. And then you incorporate the other elements in there very nicely. This is going to look great at full resolution. You're hitting all the right beats. There's great eye tracing. You know, you're keeping the viewer's eye there. Fantastic. Now the only thing I want to see. Okay, you can't swing that open too wide because of the let's find out what we got going on there. Here we go, window split. Bang, right there. Okay, so okay, let's see what we got going on here. There's a position and a scale. Aha. Okay, now. Okay, I see what you did. Okay, so path, yeah, that would work too. Okay, now I'm just gonna try this out real fast. I don't want to damage the original. Okay, so this is taking place over 1 second. Let's get rid of this. And let's try this, just for the fun of it. We'll 3D enable it, okay? And before we rotate it, we know the anchor points need to be right here, because that's where it's going to swing out of. I'm going to hold down Command. Line it up right there. Okay, fine. And I'll put that there. Okay. So, let's take a look at what we got here. R for rotate. R for rotate. Okay, perfect. I believe it'll be the x-axis. Nope, I was wrong there. It's going to be the y-axis. Yep, it's the y. Alright, so if I go y and y, go forward that 1 second. Oh, and I see there's stuff moving in the background. Hide that. That way. This one will go in the negative direction. Oops. It sound right, boy. Let's take a look at that. That opens a little bit wider. So that's your call. What you did worked, but you see how this can swing open a little bit more, and you're getting the perspective change to it as well. So that's strictly up to you. And I don't know what happened here. That wasn't me. Someone else did it. But yeah, all I did was I just 3D enabled those, and I spun them on the Y, moving the gizmo to the edge where it'll swing open. But spectacular work. This is just nothing short of brilliant. Looks fantastic. And I don't know what happened there. Okay, so there's a floor. Alright, you know. That looks way smoother. Okay, now, Liam, if you're going to change that, make sure you do a save as, because you don't want something to happen to your file. So do what I do. Like, before you change it, go _2 so that your original is not damaged. And we don't need to see the floor here to get the idea of what's going on. So let's hit spacebar. And then more will happen there. Okay, this is looking pretty nice. Stuff there. Okay, so let's talk motion design, because that's why we're all here tonight. I've never had a good shopping cart. Glad you labeled everything. There's the shelf. There's the cart. Okay. Now, let's try this. Position. And then I'm going to right click. Separate dimensions. So it should only be moving on the X, which is what it's doing. So if I get rid of the Y, it's still there. Now, let's play around. I split those dimensions because I'm going to try and put an expression just on the Y. So let's do 2 wiggles a second at 30. So it's the number of times per second and then the amount. So let's go in here to fit, and let's see, that should be jiggling up and down as it moves. Okay, so let's give a higher number. Let's do 8, and we'll do 5 for a lower number. See, that's more shopping cart looking. A lot of jiggles with a little bit of motion because it's just rattling up and down. So that was 8 and 5. Now let's try 12 and 4. See what I mean? Just, I forgot to move the floor at the end. To have the flour spilling. Yep, yeah, I saw that in your notes. So do you see how putting in that expression really helps sell that shopping cart jitter? I just separated the dimensions by right-clicking on position and choosing separate dimensions. I took the keyframes off the Y because you're only moving on the X, and then I put the expression wiggle on the Y, so it wiggles up and down as it's moving. So that's a fast fix there, and it adds some interest to the scene. I don't know what that line is down there. Maybe that is, yep, okay, so that was just a guide. There we go, some sound effects will really help there. Now, what I would do, so people know this is a shelf, is have some products in there facing the right dimension. And you should put something on the screen to distract the person. Like maybe they're just watching a cartoon or something like that. You could maybe even put, I don't know, your first assignment in there. And to do that, let's take a look. There's the shelf, there's the cart, here's the phone. Okay, so I'm going to put a dummy layer in there, and I'm going to send this back to you so you can see it. What I'm going to do, you've got this gorgeous artwork in Illustrator, looks great. I'm going to right click, I'm just create shapes from vector, okay? Now I can twirl down there, go to contents, we can see what's what. I think this might be your screen. Nope. Okay. This might be it right here. Okay, this is the screen, so I'm going to name that by hitting the spacebar. There we go, it's right there. So if I copy this, see what happens. If I go Oh no, wait, here's the fast way of doing it. If I duplicate this layer, Command D, and I relabel that screen so I can get rid of everything but the screen on the duplicate. Like such. So there's the shape, perfectly following everything. Okay, and we're going to use this as our alpha mat. Okay, I'll name it mat. So I'm going to put this in as a placeholder. I'm going to make a fractal just so you can see what's happening here. Now I'll put some noise in there. Actually, you know what? I'm feeling too lazy to even animate that. Let's go to our things that are already there. Let's go old school and throw ethereal on there. Okay, there we go. Fine. And we'll change the position of that. About there. Okay, lovely. And remember, a mask goes over your face, so the mat goes over that. And if you're not in your modes, you click toggle switches and modes. Here's your switches. There's your modes. So if I make that screen an alpha mat, now we've got this happening. So you could put your animation from the last assignment in there, or whatever you want, and just use that mat over top of it. And you might want to add a little bit of dynamism to these lines as well while we're looking at this. And also, while we're at it, you got your shelf here. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Fine. I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to wait for this to get down to where we see it. Okay, fine. If I'm over a keyframe, which I am, see, there I'm at the keyframe. If I select both of them on the duplicate, I can slide it along the x-axis and it will uniformly move both of them. Like that. So now we've got more shelves. So if there's food, you can put food in there. I'll hit Command D to duplicate it one more time. Go to the last keyframe. Select them both. Slide it on the X, and now we're filling up the frame, making it look more like a store, and they're all going to move together like that. Like I said, a little bit of product there, and you're going to have a floor, I understand that. Let me see something real fast. I'm in the mood to experiment tonight. Let's add a new solid. And let's make it gray-ish. Right about there. Fine. We'll put that at the bottom. Let's try a grid. And then we'll try to 3D enable that and rotate it. Let's try it on the X. Like that, and then we'll scale it up. So let's take a look at that shelf. There's the position. So let's try. You're moving 1635 to 1797. So you move basically 1600, roughly. So I'll do the same here. Oh, no, wait, you moved on the Y, that's right. Looks like 72. See how that grid and the perspective helps add some stuff to that. Now let's try some fractal noise on here, and fear not. Just that subtle bit of noise. Add a little bit of texture and break it up a little bit. You can probably add the floor in the other scenes, just change the perspective on it. There should probably be other products in there too. If you just duplicate that, kill the keyframes on it, slide it down, zero it out, duplicate it, slide it down again, add a little bit more interest to it. And then your motion lines. What were to happen if you messed around with fractal and did displacement? Or no, wait, let's... Okay, good. After Effects, nice. Are they... Oh, the rectangles. Okay. They're not paths. If these were paths, let me show you the difference. And I'll make mine purple just so you can see the difference. When you use the pen tool, you can add effects onto the tapering of this. And you can also add things like wiggle. And it gives you more options than just the stationary line. So where's that path? So edit it. Okay, so there's my paths. Off. Okay, good. And then if I twirl down, it should be under stroke. You can add wave. And you can animate the phase to it. So automatically, you've got some motion happening. So we can then worry about the look of it a little bit with taper. And what if it gets thinner towards the end because of the gravitational pull? And for the stuff spilling out, particles are usually a good thing for that. Well, actually, particles are the best thing for that. So think about your particles that you want and what you want to do with them. So I'm going to make a new solid, and let's do particle world because that's 3D. So pretend this is your flower falling. So we'll just change it to white because flower is white. And we'll have it get a little darker as it goes on. Okay, great. Lots of flower falling, sure. And the producer is wherever it's coming from. So that's all up to you. If you see the bag, is the bag there? You know, you could even have the bag there with this coming out of the bag. That's your call as the designer. Now we got something a little more flower looking. Keep it the same size, shrink it down. Here's the flower. Okay. So, wherever your camera is, you can then go to your grid, and that's going to be your floor. And then under physics, floor. Don't forget I'm recording this, you could always reference it. You can set up an action. I'll do glue because flour won't bounce, it'll just accumulate like that. So the floor action is glue, and then here's floor position under floor. You can set it where you want in your scene. Now you've got flour spilling out and sticking to the floor, which it would be doing. So that's your concept. Then it's dialing in the look. So producer, how wide, that's the position. That's how you change where it's coming from. How wide or narrow will that be? Z space, how close or far to the camera. And then why, like how tall is it falling from? And that's the amazing fun world of particles. Let's try one more thing. The last finishing touch. Let's 3D enable this. Rotate it. Oops, not that way. Not that way. There we go. Now let's see what happens. Should look like it's being revealed by the flower falling around it. So it's just the color of whatever your scene is, or you can use it as an alpha invert or whatever to show the floor below. But that's just particles building up and revealing the title of your animation. Hope that helps you out and gives you some thoughts, Victor. Like I said, try not to have it look so sparse. Even just duplicating the line art that you already made will help make it look more like a store. Yeah, okay. Sometimes there can be too many PNGs, but I don't know when that would be. Okay, so it looks like this is right where it ends, right about there. So I'm just gonna, whoops. I'm just gonna hold down Shift and snap that to there. And we'll take a look at it. That's a lovely animation style. Plenty of ways to animate. And I know you know how to do keyframing, so this is a really gorgeous what I'm trying to figure out is there's a stroke, okay. So that is type. There's a text layer. And you trim pathed it. I'm wondering how you got that text thing there. So is that a font that you turned into shapes that you added the effect? Well, whatever you did, it looks great. The music, you don't want it to be so loud that it startles your audience. This is looking spectacular. I love this. Now what's the thing with these two shapes? Because this is sort of looks like a cat head. So is there going to be more to this? Because one thing that might help with that, because that's a little too jarring, is that logo a PNG? Just start off the text in the program. Okay, so what you could try and do is we could try and do morphing from that logo shape to end up where that is, and then into this, and like maybe a reveal or something like that. Right now it's a little too jarring. That's my one critique, but I mean that's gorgeous. Very nicely done. So just rethink going from that scene to that scene. Let me try something out here. I'm going to apply this mask to a new layer. We're just going to see something real fast. So we'll hide that. Here we are here. Layer, solid settings. Black. Okay, so we'll put this above, drag it out. Oh, I see. There's this as well. Okay, that's enough right there for me to get to where I want to be. So if I hit M for mask, here's mask path. Move that to the beginning, fine. And let's actually move that to where the playhead is. Position it right about there. And we'll go back to the beginning, add a keyframe, move it down towards the center. Okay, so here it is towards the center. It should have moved up. But you get the idea. If I change the shapes of those paths, it's going to change over time. And, you know, it's just a little thought. You could morph that logo into that and then fade into the animation. Just my 2 cents. But it should be, I mean, that's looking really sharp. Fantastic work. That's my only one critique is, you know, going from this shape into there. So maybe a morph might help you. It's your call. Are these transparent PNGs? Like, is this... Here's the fast way of finding out. I'm going to turn on the alpha. Nope, okay, so that is white. Alright. There's nothing we can do there. Unless we took this, keyed that out, and isolated the head. Yeah, so like if you brought this head into Photoshop and masked it. Yeah, so if this were in Photoshop and you had just the head, you could auto trace it and then just morph between those two with the reshape effect. So I have that in my morph lecture. It's the one with the ketchup bottle and the tomato. The same thing applies. All you have to do is bring that into Photoshop, make it its own piece of artwork, and line it up here and auto trace it. And then you can quickly and easily go from one mask shape to the next. The computer will morph them for you, so check that out. Alright, yeah. It's looking really, really sharp. Very happy. This is very fun. It's very playful. I like the different perspectives you've got going on, the expressions. Good stuff. Now, watch this. I've already said before, you're not going to have white. It is not going to be white. What's going to happen is there's going to be black. Okay, so this is dire. This is the most important thing I'm saying all night. You must add a white solid layer to the bottom of this on your file. And then put it at the bottom as the background. Without this, just scale that up. Now, even with transparency off and on, see, now you're going to have a white background. Otherwise, it's going to read this as alpha and make it black, and you won't read that. It's just going to be a black screen. So put a white solid in the background. I know, well, it's looking really good, Andrea, so I'm very happy with it. A lot of life and character and emotion. Good stuff. You might, in time, bring this character in layer by layer into After Effects and rig it and get some more motion out of it. But fantastic. Love the art style. Good stuff. But like I said, add that white solid or else, you know, this whole thing is going to be black and that's not going to be fun. Great job. Yep, no problem. It's what I'm here for. Andrea just did. Looking great. Joy, looking phenomenal, but your render crashed. Carrie, there we go. No, I forgot someone. See, I like having a full house. You know, people being invested. Oh, interesting. I'm debating this downward and then upward motion. I love the upward motion. The upward motion is really slick. I'm just trying to think of a way to carry this up into there. But fantastic. Let's take a look at this because we got a little bit of time. And that's what this is all about, me wasting people's time. I love doing that. I'm actually going to start talking slower and moving my mouse slower, just so I waste some more time. There's the drip. Okay, good. Let's see what we got going on here. No effects. Wow. That is all path points? That can't be. gorgeous. Okay, so let's take a look. Liking that. From there to there. Now this is the part I'm unsure of. There are those drips. Okay. I have a thought. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. And let's rotate it. Up. And move it down. Let's see what that does. So now it's coming from the other direction. Like that. Now we can fine tune it. Spread that a little bit. And let's see what happens if we shorten you up a little bit. Nope, too soon. Flip this around. So this is where okay, there's an alpha mat. I'm a silly guy. Okay, that makes sense. So, I can combine these two layers into one to make the alpha mat. That's the solution. Alright, let's try it. That's great on the bottom. And right about here is where I want to dial in the top. Right there. So I'm going to here's the solution I like. I don't need this layer until about here. So I'm going to trim the beginning of it with Alt and the bracket next to the letter P. So now I can take these two drips, pre-compose them together because of matte is one layer revealing one layer. So I pre-compose these, call it reveal. Move all attributes into the new comp. Now I can make that an alpha mat. Now let's see what happens. Oh, and obviously we turn the hill back on. Let's try that again. I turned off the alpha mat, I turned it back on because the hill wasn't on at the beginning. Now that's working there, but we lost the beginning part of it. Oh, because this is set to alpha mat on the inside. There we go. There's the shape. There it goes. Boom. Okay, so I just turned the alpha mat on there. So the top is still coming in too early. There it is right there. It's because of this layer not being there early enough. Now let's try it. See, now it's working from both directions. I like that a little bit better. We just gotta join these up a little bit better. Make sure they're true to each other. There we go. Now it's tested out. Maybe just fix that shape, but see how much smoother that is with the top and the bottom coming together? That makes more sense organically, and it's more pleasing visually. You just gotta watch this part right here. So in here, you just find where those paths go off once they stop lining up. Right there, so that's where they start going off. And then you just adjust it wherever you need to. I can just move the top one, make my life a lot easier. Now they're not lining up so hot here. That's that top point. Right there. So then we just check the next point. They look a little off there. Line them up. A little off right there. Now let's take a look at it. It's just these little bit of tweaks that help keep it clean. Still off a little bit there. See how much smoother that is now? I'm really liking that. If there's going to be this little bit of a pause here, the dog there, you might want to do like an extra eye blink or two, just to fill in that space. That's gorgeous. So if it's done at about the 7-second mark, I would stop it right about there. Like I said, another blink there. Okay, 10 seconds. That looks phenomenal. I really like some of the choices you made there. For anyone I've not seen your work, please get in touch with me. You know, I can help you through some stuff because the projects are due very soon. May 17th is when it's due. It's the end of the semester. Gotta have my grades in. So make sure you're on time with that. And I'm gonna double check that that's the deadline. I'll probably have the edit up later in the day, at night or something like that. But yeah, I'll double check on when the semester ends, and everyone just keep moving on. And best of luck. And I will, be in touch. I'll say when the next live stream is. I think we've got 1 or 2 before the end of the semester. And again, like I said, I'll just double check on when grades are due and get back to everybody to make sure that that deadline is correct. Alright, so have a great evening, and I'm liking the work I'm seeing so far. Just keep pushing yourselves and try and get the best work possible. Those who have been working little by little, your stuff's coming on great. It's just the fine-tuning that you're working on, and I'm glad to see so many different solutions and animation techniques. Everyone's basically doing their own thing and has their own look. There's no duplicate work. I'm very happy to see that. And none of it is really based off of online tutorials, which is the main thing. You don't want to have tutorials in your motion reel. People in studio can spot the tutorials a mile away. You're showing your own style and your own, approach to motion design, and that's the most important thing. So, great job, keep it up, and I'll see everybody next week. And, I'll email out things about the final assignment and whatnot. So now it's time for me to enjoy some dinner. Have a great evening.